The question is to solve functional equations with definite integrals that yield a constant. Let g of x be a continuous function defined on the interval from 0 to 1. It satisfies the condition that g of x equals 1 plus 3 times x multiplied by the definite integral from 0 to 1 of g of t with respect to t. Our task is to find the explicit formula for g of x. All right, let's work through this together, step by step. First, identify what's going on. We are told that g of x equals 1 plus 3x times the integral from 0 to 1 of g of t. Now, this integral is a constant. Why? Because it's taken over a fixed interval, and the integration variable is t, not x. So, let's make our lives easier by giving this constant a name. We'll call it capital A. So now we rewrite the function like this. G of x equals 1 plus 3 times capital A times x. Pretty simple so far. Next step is to find the value of capital A. To find capital, we just integrate both sides. That means we substitute our new expression for g of x back into the integral from 0 to 1. So capital A equals the integral from 0 to 1 of g of t, which becomes the integral from 0 to 1 of 1 plus 3 times capital A times t. We can split this into two separate integrals. One is the integral from 0 to 1 of 1, and the other is the integral from 0 to 1 of 3 times capital A times t. The first integral gives us 1. The second one, well, we pull out the constant, so it becomes 3 times capital A times the integral from 0 to 1 of t, which is 1/2. So now we put everything together. Capital A equals 1 plus 3 times capital A times 1/2. That simplifies to capital A equals 1 plus 3/2 times capital A. Then, solve for capital A. Now we solve for capital A. We move all terms involving capital A to one side. So capital A minus 3/2 times capital A equals 1. That simplifies to negative 1/2 times capital A equals 1. So capital A equals negative 2. That's our constant. Next step is to find the final expression for g of x. Now that we know capital A is negative 2, we plug it back into our expression for g of x. Remember, we had g of x equals 1 plus 3 times capital A times x. That becomes g of x equals 1 plus 3 times negative 2 times x, which simplifies to g of x equals 1 minus 6x. So, our final answer is g of x equals 1 minus 6x. Anytime you see a function defined in terms of an integral of itself over a fixed interval, here's what to do. First, give that integral a name, call it capital A, for example. Then, express the function in terms of x and that constant. Next, plug that back into the integral to solve for capital A. Once you know the constant, just substitute it back in and you got your final function. It's a clever way to turn what looks like a tough problem into a straightforward algebra question. That's it for this question. This video is based on our math tutoring blog and class recordings. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to our channel. If you're looking for tutoring on final exam level questions, check out my YouTube channel at MathTutor8285. You'll find helpful explanations and strategies to ace your exams.